So we are back for another casual tea-filled chit-chat, but this time we're going to talk to you about pre-verbal stuff, pre-verbal trauma or things that clients can't access. So Jill, do you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, sure. I think we'll have all come across it, where you have a client who either comes with a really good self-awareness or you've done work together and their self-awareness is really increased. And then they feel there's something that's almost like they keep tripping over, it keeps showing up in their life. Do you know, it's a bit like if you've ever had a rug and maybe there's something under the rug, but you're looking at it going, I don't know what that is. It could be a book, it could be a hairbrush, it could be a child's toy. But maybe you walk on that rug and go, ouch. And then you're like, oh yeah, I must deal with that. I don't know what's under there. I'll sort it out later. And then you walk on the rug again and you go, ouch, that hurt. So it's a
Yeah.
thing. It's a thing.
Mm.
And we can drill down with clients and get to the point where it's still a thing.
Mm.
It's amorphous, it's unnamed, it's blank, it's big. The energy of it's big.
Mhm.
You feel it very much in terms of emotion or in their body. And often when that happens, if I know if I've done the usual drilling down things about, okay, let's look at it another way. If this feeling you have, if it were a color, what would it be? If it's a pain, what kind? Is it an ache? Is it spiky? So you're starting to be able to put words in it to access, and often that cracks it open.
Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, there's a real likelihood that it happened so early that it was pre-verbal, so it was before the person was verbal.
Yeah.
So of course it doesn't have words, but it's a felt sense in the body.
Mm.
So I would often, someone might say it's like in there, and it's if you're to do an action, what is it? And they might be like, what's up? Oh, but and often for a client, it's really frustrating
Mm.
because they're like, they've almost got it, but they can't name it. They don't know where it came from. They don't know its origin.
Yeah.
It can be really frustrating. But if you're in that place with a client, the likelihood is that something happened to them before there was words. And that could just be that, say, mum was in hospital having a baby. She was away for a few days. And so it's like suddenly everything is different. That main attachment's gone, and they may be with the dad or the grandma or whoever, but it's like almost that felt sense in their body of
Hmm.
safe, loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it gets stuck in, just as we are saying earlier, that in our minds it's like a script, and it's almost like there can be little dark corners we don't know are even there.
Yeah.
So it can be really frustrating for clients. Do you find that, Emma?
Yeah, I do. And I've worked with a few people, and I include myself in this actually, because I've had a recurrent, I think my anxiety stemmed from the drop in the stomach feeling that I had when I got back from a school trip and found out that my grandma had passed and I wasn't there. And that dropping feeling, that sudden paralyzing anxiety of what do I do now? She's gone. And it took me years to be able to put a label on that. And until clients can, I've worked with people who have had literally the sensation has just been a vast black hole and there was no explanation of it, or there was like a gripping sensation. And to speak to what you've said, it can be all sorts depending on what was going on at the time. And if it was pre-verbal, it's likely that they won't be able to tell you because they have no words for it that were assignable at the time. And so there's a few ways that I deal with it. Sometimes it can be even further back than pre-verbal. It can be in utero, and it can also be ancestral. I will use tapping in several different ways. But first and foremost, I think I introduce the sort of concept of maybe I don't have to know.
Yeah.
Is a lot of the time it's this thing of I have to chase the problem or I have to figure it all out before I can let it go. You actually don't.
Yeah.
You actually don't. But as we've said before, and as you well know, the trauma imprints, they need safety in the nervous system to be able to complete themselves sometimes. Sometimes they can self-complete. And so one of the things that I've been developing over the last couple of years and teaching my practitioners is this concept of titration and pendulation. So, okay, so just place your attention on that area that feels like that black hole just for a few seconds while you're tapping, just to soothe. Okay, and now let's find a place in your body that feels neutral or safe or comfortable or whatever kind of a word, soft, easy.
Mhm.
Let's go there. Place your attention there for a minute, a little bit longer than you did on that one. And then let's go back to the black hole. Just place your attention on it and build up maybe 3 more seconds and then come away to the easy, soft, neutral place. Because by turning that tap on very slowly and soothing at the same time, whatever is underneath that black hole, whatever caused it, whatever is keeping it in place, you're soothing it without the words. And you're also showing somebody and their nervous system that I can have that duality in me and I'm still okay. I'm still safe. I'm still here, right?
Yeah,
You're extending this and you're extending that, but it's just turning it on slowly like a tap rather than fire
yeah,
hose somebody with. And also, rather than getting them stuck in their head analyzing it,
yeah.
whilst that is very handy, if it's pre-verbal or in utero or ancestral.
Is not the right tool.
Yeah.
And can I, so when you were saying titrate, is that the feel the place that feels safe in your body? Could be your hand or your
I just use that as a word for saying take it slowly, bit at a time. And pendulation is the going back and forth between,
forward.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
the awful
So
place and the decent
bit
place.
at a time,
Yeah,
bit at a time, and back and forward.
yeah, dead easy. And
Yeah.
because then when you do that, it may seem like a bit of a strange thing to do. And there may be a sense of impatience because people want to just fix it because it's awful. But actually, counterintuitively, the more you do the pendulation back and forth, the more the nervous system relaxes because all the time, and you can introduce wording into it like, and I might be feeling this black hole right now, but equally, I'm aware that there is a place inside me that feels soft and comfortable. And that means that I'm okay.
Yeah.
So it's getting the mind on board without attaching it to something that's concrete. And there's other ways you can do it because if it's in utero, you can talk about what happened with your mum and dad. And you can say, even though and this is an ode to Jackie Crooks, I have to say, this is not my technique. Jackie is a founding master of EFT and she is fabulous. Jackie, if you're watching this, hi. I interviewed her back in 2019 and has just continued to blow my mind all these years. She's wonderful. And Jackie's specialism is ancestral healing. And she talks about tapping on, even though I don't know what happened, what was going on with my mum or my dad when the egg that became me was, in place or whatever the word that she uses. And it's very expansive. It is specific, but it's vague enough that you're saying, look, I don't know what was going on with my parents, and maybe I don't need to, and maybe I can be okay anyway. And then you can just acknowledge the black hole and the fact that you don't have to know where it comes from and all of that. Do you see it's specific but not, if you get.
Yeah, which is great because then it's very inclusive.
Yeah.
It's a bit more of a blank canvas that someone can fit themselves into. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I really like that. And it also makes real sense about in utero as well, because all those chemicals, if a mum was very stressed, very upset, all those chemicals are going through the child as well.
absolutely. And like anything, that if there was enough of it, and then you're born and there was a fracas going on, there was some incident or this, that, and the other, and it continued. It's just the cortisol after cortisol. And unlike the gazelle, who can shake it off and then go back to normal, as babies, we don't have that capacity really. And certainly as children, we don't have the capacity to rationalize that one, realize that it's not about us too, and three, do the stuff we need to do. So that's a sidebar for let's tap as soon as people are able to tap, right? Or let's tap on babies. But you get my drift. Like it's so important to acknowledge that there are things that happen that are completely out of our hands, but there are still ways to tackle it. So it's all is not lost. If you can't remember a fact or you can't place why you're so anxious, it could just be a build-up from the moment you were conceived.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
If you've just never felt quite safe. It's not a logical thought, it's a feeling in the body, isn't it, for a little one.
Yeah.
No, that makes such sense. And I think in the same way in how I work, the ripples of whatever that is, be it a black hole, for some clients they describe it as emptiness, or it might be a hollow or a fire, or however it's for a client, that imprint will show up every day in some way. And I think this is the real strength of the rapid imprint resolution method, is that it really avoids re-traumatization, because actually we can work with it, be it what's repeating every day, or in terms of the nervous system and the somatics working in that way to help someone regulate, that we can work without exactly knowing. And that's really appropriate sometimes, unless a client does know and they want it witnessed.
Yeah.
But I think that's really such an important one, because I think it's one of the things that can scare clients about therapy. Yeah, and I think of clients in the past who've come to me who may have been at a few therapists in the past and things maybe haven't quite gone the way they hoped. And there's a fear, like, as if are you going to just open the door to all this
Yeah.
pain and stuff? And that's why I particularly like your tritation, if I said it right.
Titration. Yeah.
I'm terrible for saying words the wrong way around. And then the pendulation, because what I love in that is the measuredness, almost like opening a door a little bit and closing it again, opening again, but also they're the one opening and closing. There's a power in that, isn't there?
Yeah. Very much so.
I'm not going to be overwhelmed. It's not just going to fly open. No, and I think that's where with the tapping, the regulation, that return to safety. And even if we look at it in terms of polyvagal theory, where someone is highly activated in terms of their sympathetic nervous system, that how do we get someone back into that place of safety, of social engagement, of and where the brain comes back online. Do you know, I often think with pre-verbal stuff, if somebody can learn and practice and root it in, rewrite almost that life script with I'm safe inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm safe inside, in my experience, that unnamed
Yeah.
big emotion, big pain, big something
Yeah.
starts to dissipate.
Yeah.
Because if we can hold enough of I'm safe inside, that becomes the louder, more solid.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. And I think it's also important to present at this point, I think, that it can go further back than that. So it can be ancestral. Now, people may or may not be on board with this, but the fact is there is genetic and cellular memory, and we carry things forward from our ancestors, whether we like it or not, it happens, and it's been proven. And what I love about tapping for ancestral clearing, and thank you again, Jackie Crooks, for showing me the way with that, is that you can become a cycle breaker.
Yeah.
Right? So if you are from a family of overeaters, or you're from a family of people pleasers, or you all consider yourselves anxious, you can stop that. If there was a history of, let's say, neglectful parenting, for example, you might decide that you want to break that cycle, and so you do work and it echoes back, or lots of different examples, but they say that it can go back 8 generations. Personally, I believe that energy is fluid, it's throughout all time and space. I think you can clear it all the way back. And funnily enough, the lovely Jackie, in the interview that I did with her, she actually tapped on with me on things like the plague hundreds and hundreds of years ago, when there were things like famine and plague that wiped entire cities and nations out. That kind of trauma can stay with people. So if nothing happened bad in your family, if your mum was perfectly relaxed when she was pregnant with you, whatever, if all of that is normal and non-anxious, but yet you carry this really deep anxiety, don't dismiss that it could be somebody in your ancestral line, and it could go back as far as the plague a famine, something like that, that carries forward, that just leaves us feeling unsafe. It's unreal. And again, you can do this wording of maybe I don't need to know, but all the way that it goes back and sending love to my ancestors and all of that's good stuff. And Jackie Crooks is the specialist in that. But it is a really fantastic, loving way to break a cycle and also to help a client get on board with it might not even be me,
Yeah.
right? This might be
Wow.
just.
That's really blown my mind actually. Well, I do understand the concept that it can be carried in the DNA, which the previous or what lights up or doesn't within our DNA strands. I can get, but that's amazing. Is that video accessible?
It is. I will link it. So for anybody who would like a copy of that video, I'll pop it over
Yeah.
to you shortly. And anybody who wants it, drop a heart in the comments below this video. Let me know and I'll send it to you. I don't put it out on public just for them to access it because it's mine and Jackie's interview and I want to be respectful to Jackie, but she did give me permission at the time of interviewing that I could share it with appropriate people. So if you do want it, pop a heart in the comments and I'll send it to you privately. That's absolutely fine. Yeah. Yeah. But it's phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit speechless.
Yeah. Yeah. It blew my mind. And I'm not even kidding. When I did that tapping with her, and when you watch the video, Jill, you will see this evidence. I blanch and my hands go absolutely. Now, my hands are always chilly anyway. I'm a chilly handed person, cold hands, warm heart. But my hands go absolutely freezing after that tapping. And you can visibly see something big, like you said, rippling out. Because it's not just your energy field. You are connected to everyone who's been before, everyone, and also future facing. So if you haven't
My
had children
what's
yet,
the next
right?
road today?
Yeah, whether you've had children or not, you can send it forward. So that if you say, for example, you didn't want you had somebody had a daughter and they didn't want her to inherit your anxiety, you could tap on yourself and it would reverberate because everybody's energy field is, we're all the same. We're all connected. It's all energy and it all ripples out. So you can break the chain. You can stop it in its tracks from how it's been, and you can stop it in its tracks from going any further forward, and it stops with you. It's fascinating. So you don't need words in a nutshell, but you can
Yeah.
always use what we call artfully vague language to touch on what might be there and
Yeah.
combine that with a whole heap of compassion around maybe I don't need to understand this in order to move through it. Maybe this is outside of me. Maybe this
Yeah.
was given
Oh,
to me, you know?
absolutely. And I think that's an important part for clients, the acceptance of maybe I don't know, maybe it doesn't have words. And that's okay. It's not that they've failed in some way or their therapist has failed in some way. It just happened before there was
Mhm.
words. And because of that, it's beyond words and it needs to be treated, be not just with words. But it can be tremendous healing, can it, when that very kind of such an intense trauma imprint is begins to soften and heal
Mhm.
and have less impact. Yeah.
It's beautiful to watch. It
Wow.
is. Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. I know it had the same effect on me. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a very powerful thing. And if anybody wants to go follow Jackie, I believe her, I'll put it down below in the comments. It's jackiecrooks.com. And she is a specialist in ancestral clearing and things like that. And her approach is just incredible. And I am forever grateful for being the Yeti gathering in Ilkley where I learned all about it because that is one of the monumental times in my career that has changed everything because nothing I've done from that day has been the same because I've always had that in the back of my mind and you can't unlearn it. It's so powerful and it's really empowering as well for clients because they just realize that actually they're part of a bigger whole, that this and somehow it puts things in perspective a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Because when you think, yeah, this is really big for me, but actually, if it was rooted in plague or famine 600 years ago or whenever it was, it's important and it's part of a bigger thing. So in some way, I've had people say anyway, in some way that it eases it a little bit because it's okay. It's a manifestation of that, but it's part of a bigger thing, and therefore it's maybe even more distance from me. It's out of my control somehow. It's you know?
It's like an echo from it's not ancient times, I guess, but almost like an echo from so way back, as well as the echo of trauma imprints from in utero onwards. It was verbal.
And that's not even getting to things like the witch wound and other things where women were persecuted for a very long time over really stupid stuff by people who just didn't like what was out of their control and that they didn't understand. If you've done hypnotherapy, you can sometimes access that and then you can tap on what comes up. I had that. I went through it. I've tapped on it. I've worked through it. But it impacts everything.
Mhm.
Everything.
No,
It's
in some ways, this is what I love about our partnership because we both bring expertise, not just from different modalities of healing, but also in some ways our specific interests or things that are part of us. We both have the energy thing, but also your interest in herbalism and homeopathy and all of those things. It kind of opens my eyes to different things too. I appreciate that about, yeah.
Yeah, and ditto. I love the way that you work too. And I think that side of me just comes from a fascination of, if I boil it down, frequency and vibration, everything, essential oils and the way that they work, homeopathy and the way that it ripples out. It just fascinates me. And actually, when you zoom out like that with a client, if you use that as a tool, you can say, what if this isn't even about me? What if this isn't even anything that I've done or whatever? What if it's just I'm part of something bigger and it's happening on this kind of a scale, but it's manifesting with me? And you can use that to help them zoom out and
Mhm.
just alleviate that. But yeah, everything, I'm obsessed with it all, everything frequency and vibration based. And it is interesting how we all bring our unique things, but I firmly believe that that is what makes a very skilled and different therapist, coach, counselor, mentor, healer, whatever you call yourself. If you're going to hold space for people, bring all of you, bring all of you to the table. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I know for me, and even on Zoom, what I get energetically from a person, and I don't mean their vitality that day, whether they're really tired and slow or whether they're really up and energetic, but like the energy that changes perhaps on one word that the client says that you, so I think it's, yeah, I guess it's just we just want to get even wider, deeper capacity to help heal. Yeah.
Excuse me, I had a big
Our
sneeze.
client.
Oh,
That's okay. Did we catch you in mid snot?
yes, I had a really big sneeze. It's hay fever season. Sorry, do excuse me. But yeah, it's
Oh,
funny. The more you tune in and the more you pull on different threads from your experiences and your knowledge and your own connection to the divine, whether you call it that, to the universe, source, spirit, whatever you want to call it. Actually, when you are tuned into that and regulated in what I call it in your own channel, if you like, and you've called all the parts of you home and you're centered and you're grounded, you are such a powerful channel for healing for your client. And I don't mean you have to channel anything if that's not you, but things can come through you and you can have a realization either for or with the client with absolutely no grounding in what they've told you at the start of the session.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think in that really regulated place, I certainly know I listen to my intuition much more from that regulated place to the point that I will do a bit of tapping, just even a small, some vagal breathing and just a couple of rounds of tapping
Yeah.
before with the client.
Yeah.
Um, absolutely.
Love that.
Fantastic, interesting stuff.
Yeah. I hope you guys found that useful, interesting. Please let us know if you do. Like with all of these videos, it would be lovely if you could make sure that you've liked or followed or hit the thumbs up or whatever it is and put a comment below the video because that's what helps the algorithm know that you enjoy the content and that keeps it coming. Otherwise, it goes into a vast abyss, never to be seen again. Um, And we wouldn't want that now, would we? God forbid you miss 20 minutes of Jill and I chit-chatting about stuff like this. No, we hope it's been useful. And thank you, Jill, for your insights as ever. Wonderful.
And for yours, and we look forward to seeing everybody next time.
Ta for now.